The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of Green Valley Supermarket as Andre, a 12-year-old boy with bright eyes and a kind smile, pushed through the sliding doors. His mother's birthday was today, and he wanted to surprise her with a home-cooked dinner. He'd been planning this for weeks, saving his allowance and even learning how to make her favorite pasta dish by watching cooking videos. Andre pulled the folded paper from his pocket and glanced at his carefully written shopping list. Tomatoes, garlic, onions, pasta, and chocolate. His mom loved dark chocolate with sea salt. He grabbed a small shopping basket and headed toward the produce section, humming softly to himself. Mrs. Wilson, Andre's neighbor, spotted him by the tomatoes and waved. "Hello there. Shopping all by yourself today?" "Yes, ma'am," Andre replied with a polite nod. "It's my mom's birthday and I'm making her dinner." "That's so thoughtful," Mrs. Wilson smiled. "Your mother must be very proud of you." Andre beamed at the compliment. His mom worked long hours as a nurse at the local hospital, often taking double shifts to make ends meet. She'd been especially tired lately, and Andre wanted to do something special for her. After selecting the freshest vegetables he could find, Andre moved through the pasta aisle, carefully checking prices and comparing them to the money he had saved. $28.75. Not a fortune, but enough for a nice meal and a small gift. He'd even made a birthday card with a drawing of their family, including their cat Pepper. The supermarket was fairly busy for a Thursday afternoon. A group of teenagers laughed by the soda coolers. An elderly man with a cane carefully examined cereal boxes, and several harried parents pushed carts with fussy children. Andre navigated around them all, focused on his mission. As he reached for a box of spaghetti, he felt his phone vibrate in his pocket. It was a text from his cousin asking what time he should come over to help with the surprise. Andre stopped to pull out his phone and quickly type a response. That's when he noticed her, a middle-aged woman with blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, wearing designer sunglasses pushed up on her head and a cream-colored blouse. She stood at the end of the aisle, watching him with narrowed eyes. Andre offered a small smile, the way his mother had taught him to be polite to strangers, but the woman didn't smile back. Instead, she adjusted her large purse and continued to stare. Feeling slightly uncomfortable, Andre put his phone back in his pocket and continued shopping. He needed to get chocolate next, the special kind from the candy aisle. As he walked, he couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. A quick glance over his shoulder confirmed his suspicion. The woman was trailing behind him, pretending to look at items on the shelves but clearly keeping her eyes on him. Andre took a deep breath. This wasn't the first time he'd been watched in a store. His mother had sat him down when he was 9 years old and explained that sometimes people might treat him differently because of the color of his skin. "It's not right and it's not fair," she had said, her eyes sad but determined. "But you need to be aware. Always be polite, always keep your hands visible, and always get a receipt." In the candy aisle, Andre carefully selected a dark chocolate bar with sea salt, his mom's favorite. He checked the price, $3.99, and added it to his basket. Just as he was about to head to the checkout, the woman who had been following him stepped directly into his path. "Excuse me," Andre said softly, trying to step around her. "Empty your pockets," the woman demanded, her voice sharp and loud enough for nearby shoppers to hear. Andre froze, his heart suddenly pounding. "I'm sorry?" "You heard me. Empty your pockets right now. I saw you put something in there." The woman's face was flushed with anger, her finger pointing accusingly at Andre. "I didn't take anything, ma'am. That was just my phone." Andre's voice came out smaller than he intended. By now, several shoppers had stopped to watch. The woman, who would later be known as Linda Grayson, crossed her arms and raised her voice even louder. "Don't lie to me. I've been watching you since you came in, acting suspicious, looking around, putting things in your pocket." Andre's hands began to tremble slightly. "It was just my phone, ma'am. I was texting my cousin about my mom's birthday dinner." Linda scoffed. "A likely story. Kids like you are always stealing." "I know your type." The weight of those words, "kids like you" and "your type," settled heavily on Andre's shoulders. He knew exactly what she meant, and it had nothing to do with what he had or hadn't done. An older man with a shopping cart paused nearby, watching with concern in his eyes. A young mother pulled her curious child closer, whispering something in her ear. The teenage clerk stocking shelves had stopped, a can of soup still in his hand. unsure whether to intervene. "I haven't stolen anything," Andre said, his voice steadier now as he remembered his mother's advice: stay calm, speak clearly, know your truth. "You can check my basket. I'm just buying ingredients for my mom's birthday dinner." Linda grabbed Andre's arm, her fingernails digging into his skin. "Store manager." "Security!" she shouted, looking around wildly. "I've caught a shoplifter." Andre's eyes widened in shock and embarrassment. People were staring now, some with suspicion, others with pity, a few with outrage on his behalf. He felt his cheeks burn and tears threatened to form, but he blinked them back. His mother had always told him to hold his head high. A store employee in a green vest hurried over. His name tag read Tom, and he looked barely out of high school. "What's happening here?" he asked, glancing between Linda and Andre. "This boy was putting merchandise in his pockets," Linda declared before Andre could speak. "I saw him do it. He needs to be searched and reported to the police." Tom looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, we have procedures for this sort of thing." "Well, then follow them," Linda snapped. "Call your manager. Call security. Do something before he runs away." Andre stood rooted to the spot, his shopping basket still in hand. "I didn't steal anything," he repeated, his voice cracking slightly. "I was just checking my phone. My mom's a nurse at Memorial Hospital. Today's her birthday and I'm making her dinner." He gestured to his basket containing vegetables, pasta, and the chocolate bar. Tom hesitated, clearly unsure how to handle the situation. More people had gathered now, forming a small semicircle around the unfolding drama. Andre felt like he was on stage in a play he never auditioned for. "What's going on here?" A deeper voice cut through the tension. A tall man in a white shirt and tie approached, the store manager, David Chen, according to his name badge. Linda immediately turned to him. "I caught this boy shoplifting. He put something in his pocket." "I saw him." Mr. Chen looked at Andre, who was still clutching his shopping basket, then back to Linda. "Did you actually see him take merchandise and conceal it?" "Well, I saw him put something in his pocket," Linda insisted. He was acting suspicious, looking around nervously. "I was checking my phone," Andre explained again, this time pulling it out slowly to show the manager. "See? I got a text from my cousin about my mom's birthday." The manager nodded slowly, but Linda wasn't satisfied. He could have other things in his other pockets. "These kids come in here all the time, stealing whatever they can get their hands on. I'm just trying to help your store." The unfairness of it all finally brought a tear to Andre's eye, which he quickly wiped away. He thought about his mother, how hard she worked, how she had raised him to be honest and respectful. What would she say if she could see him now, accused of stealing in front of everyone? "I don't steal," Andre said quietly but firmly. "My mom works hard for what we have. She teaches me right from wrong." An elderly gentleman who had been watching the scene unfold stepped forward, leaning on his cane. "I've been in this aisle the whole time," he said, his voice weathered but strong. This young man didn't steal anything. He was looking at his phone, that's all. Linda's eyes flashed with anger. "You couldn't have seen everything." He was hiding behind the shelves. The store was buzzing now with whispers and uncomfortable glances. Andre stood in the center of it all, a 12-year-old boy just trying to do something nice for his mother. Now the subject of suspicion and prejudice for reasons that had nothing to do with his actions and everything to do with how he looked. Mr. Chen, the store manager, looked from Andre to Linda and back again, his expression thoughtful. The small crowd of onlookers had grown, with shoppers pausing their errands to watch the drama unfold. Some had their phones out, and Andre felt a wave of shame wash over him at the thought of being recorded in this humiliating moment. "Why don't we all take a breath and handle this calmly?" Mr. Chen suggested, his voice measured and professional. He turned to Andre. "Young man, would you mind showing me what's in your pockets?" Andre nodded, grateful that at least the manager was speaking to him with respect. "Yes, sir." He carefully placed his shopping basket on the floor and began emptying his pockets. From his right pocket came his phone, a 3-year-old model with a cracked screen and a case decorated with basketball stickers. From his left pocket, he pulled out a folded $20 bill, a $5 bill, and 3/4. Finally, he took out the neatly folded shopping list written in his careful handwriting. "That's everything," Andre said, his voice steady despite the lump in his throat. "I didn't take anything, sir." Linda made a scoffing sound. He could have hidden it somewhere else, or passed it to an accomplice. She looked around wildly as if expecting to spot Andre's imaginary partners in crime lurking behind the cereal boxes. The elderly man who had spoken up earlier thumped his cane on the floor. "That's quite enough, young lady," he said, his bushy white eyebrows drawn together in disapproval. "I've been watching this boy shop since he came in. He's been nothing but polite and careful with his money." He turned to Andre. "I saw you checking prices and counting your cash earlier. Planning something special, aren't you?" Andre nodded, a small spark of hope flickering in his chest at finding someone who believed him. "Yes, sir. It's my mom's birthday. She works at Memorial Hospital. She's a nurse in the emergency room. I'm making her favorite dinner." A woman with a small child spoke up from the edge of the crowd. "I've seen this boy before. He holds the door open for people at the library and helps old Mrs. Thompson with her groceries sometimes. He's a good kid." Linda's face flushed a deeper shade of red. "Well, that doesn't mean anything. People can act nice and still be thieves. I know what I saw." But her voice had lost some of its conviction. Mr. Chen held up a hand. "Ma'am, exactly what did you see him take? Can you point to the item?" Linda hesitated, her eyes darting to Andre's empty pockets and back to the manager. I saw him put something in his pocket." "I'm sure of it. But what item specifically?" Mr. Chen pressed. "Was it candy? A small toy? What are we looking for?" "I didn't see exactly what it was," Linda admitted reluctantly. "But he was acting suspicious, looking around, checking to see if anyone was watching." The teenage clerk named Tom, who had been silent until now, cleared his throat. Mr. Chen, I was stocking the shelves right over there." He pointed to the adjacent aisle. "I had a pretty good view and I didn't see him take anything either." Andre felt a small weight lift from his shoulders as more people spoke up in his defense. He looked at the items in his basket, the ingredients for his mom's birthday dinner that he'd been planning for weeks. Would he even have time to make it now? His mom's shift ended at 7, and he had hoped to have everything ready by then. Mr. Chen nodded thoughtfully. "Thank you, Tom." He turned back to Linda. "Ma'am, it seems several people have been observing this young man and no one has seen him take anything. His pockets are empty except for his phone and money." Linda crossed her arms tightly across her chest. "Well, I still think he was up to something. Why else would he be in here alone? Where are his parents? Someone needs to be watching these kids." "I'm 12, Andre said quietly but with dignity. "My mom trusts me to shop on my own." "I do it all the time." The elderly man nodded approvingly. "When I was his age, I was already working a paper route and minding my younger siblings. Kids these days aren't given enough credit." A middle-aged woman with glasses who had been silently watching stepped forward. "Excuse me, but I think what's happening here is pretty obvious to everyone." She looked directly at Linda. "You saw a young black boy shopping alone and assumed he was stealing. That's called profiling, and it's wrong." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Linda's face contorted with indignation. "This has nothing to do with that. I'm not racist. I have friends who are. He was acting suspicious." "Checking his phone is suspicious?" The woman with glasses challenged. "Counting his money is suspicious? Planning a birthday dinner for his mother is suspicious." She shook her head. "I think we all know what's really happening here." Linda's hand tightened on her designer purse.
"How dare you?"
"I was just trying to be a good citizen. Stores lose thousands of dollars to shoplifters every year." Andre stood still, watching the adults argue around him. He thought about what his mother would do in this situation. She always told him that when faced with unfairness, he should stand tall and speak his truth, but also know when to walk away. He picked up his shopping basket. "Mr. Chen," he said, addressing the manager directly, "I didn't steal anything. I just came to buy food for my mom's birthday dinner. Can I please pay for these items now? I need to get home to start cooking." The simple dignity in Andre's request seemed to cut through the tension. Mr. Chen nodded. "Of course, young man. I believe you, and you're welcome in our store any time." "This is ridiculous," Linda exclaimed. "You're just going to let him go? Without even checking the security cameras?" Mr. Chen's patience was visibly wearing thin. "Actually, checking the security footage is a good idea. Not because I doubt this young man, but because it will resolve this situation once and for all." He turned to Tom. "Please ask Diane to pull up the candy aisle footage from the last 20 minutes. As Tom hurried off toward the office, Mr. Chen addressed the crowd. "Folks, I appreciate your concern, but we'll handle this from here. Please continue with your shopping." Most people dispersed, though a few lingered, invested in seeing justice served. The elderly man patted Andre on the shoulder. "Don't let this upset you too much, son. Some people just can't see past their own prejudices." Andre nodded, though the knot in his stomach remained. He glanced at his watch, almost 4 o'clock. He still had time to prepare dinner, but this delay was cutting it close. A few minutes later, Tom returned with a woman in a security uniform. "Mr. Chen, Diane has the footage ready in the office." "Good," the manager replied. "Ma'am," he addressed Linda, "would you join us to review the footage? And young man, you're welcome to come too, though you certainly don't have to." Andre considered for a moment. Part of him wanted to just pay for his groceries and leave this unpleasant experience behind. But another part, the part that remembered his mother saying, "Always stand up for the truth," made him nod. "I'll come." The small group made their way to the back of the store and into a cramped office with several monitors showing different areas of the supermarket. Diane, the security officer, a woman with short gray hair and a no-nonsense expression, pointed to one screen. "This is the candy aisle from 20 minutes ago," she explained, pressing play on the recording. The black and white footage clearly showed Andre entering the aisle, checking his list, selecting a chocolate bar, and placing it in his basket. They watched as his phone buzzed, and he pulled it out to read a message, typed a reply, and returned the phone to his pocket. There was absolutely no evidence of him taking or concealing any items. "Let's back up and watch it again," Linda insisted. Leaning closer to the screen, Diane complied, replaying the footage at a slower speed. Again, it showed exactly what Andre had described. Nothing more, nothing less. "As you can see," Mr. Chen said firmly, "there was no theft or attempted theft." Linda's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "But I was so sure," she stammered. Diane cleared her throat. "While we're reviewing footage, there's something else you should see." She typed briefly on her keyboard and pulled up a different camera angle. This one showing the cosmetics aisle from about 30 minutes earlier. On the screen, Linda could be seen glancing around furtively before quickly slipping what appeared to be a small bottle of expensive face cream into her large purse. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Linda, whose face had drained of color. "Would you like to empty your purse, ma'am?" Diane asked, her voice professionally neutral but with an unmistakable edge of satisfaction. Linda's face turned a ghostly white as she clutched her designer purse tighter against her body. The small office suddenly felt even more cramped, the air thick with tension. That's ridiculous," she stammered, her voice having lost all its previous confidence. "You can't just accuse people based on grainy security footage." The irony of her statement hung in the air. Andre glanced at Mr. Chen, whose expression had hardened considerably. "Ma'am," the manager said, his tone now firm and authoritative, "you just spent the last 20 minutes doing exactly that to this young man. The difference is we have clear video evidence of you placing an item in your purse without paying for it." Diane, the security officer, folded her arms across her chest. "The footage isn't grainy at all. Our system was upgraded last month. The resolution is excellent." Linda's eyes darted around the room like those of a cornered animal. "This is harassment. I'm a loyal customer. I spend thousands of dollars here every year." "That doesn't give you the right to take things without paying," Mr. Chen replied calmly, "or to falsely accuse others." Tom, the young clerk, shifted uncomfortably by the door. Andre stood quietly, still holding his shopping basket, unsure of what to do or say. Part of him felt a strange sense of vindication, but mostly he just wanted to leave and get on with preparing his mother's birthday dinner. Diane reached for the phone on the desk. "Standard procedure in shoplifting cases is to call the police." "No," Linda gasped, her hand flying to her throat. "You can't do that." "Do you know who I am?" "My husband plays golf with the mayor." Mr. Chen exchanged a glance with Diane. "The store policy applies to everyone, regardless of who they know." "Please." Linda's voice cracked as tears welled in her eyes. "It was a mistake. I was going to pay for it. I just forgot it was in my purse." Andre watched the woman's complete transformation with astonishment. Gone was the righteous accuser, replaced by someone pleading for mercy. He thought about how she had shown him none when she'd loudly accused him in front of everyone. What about him? Linda suddenly pointed at Andre, desperation clear in her voice. "You're letting him go without checking everything. That's a double standard." Mr. Chen's patience was clearly at its end. We've already established that this young man did nothing wrong. The only double standard here is expecting leniency for yourself after showing none to others. A soft knock on the office door interrupted the tense standoff. Tom opened it to reveal a woman in surgical scrubs, her hair pulled back in a neat bun, looking tired but concerned. "Excuse me," she said. "I'm looking for my son. One of the cashiers said he might be back here." "There's been some kind of problem?" Andre's eyes widened in surprise. "Mom, what are you doing here? I thought you were working until 7. The woman rushed to Andre and gave him a quick hug. "The surgery finished early, so I thought I'd stop by the store to pick up something for dinner. Then I heard people talking about a boy being accused of stealing." Her voice trailed off as she looked around the small office, taking in the security monitors, the manager, and Linda's tear-stained face. "What's going on here?" she asked, her arm protectively around Andre's shoulders. Mr. Chen stepped forward. "Dr. Brooks, I presume? Your son was falsely accused of shoplifting by this woman." He gestured toward Linda, whose expression changed yet again at the word doctor. "It was all a misunderstanding," Linda said quickly, attempting a watery smile. "Just a concerned citizen trying to help the store." Dr. Brooks looked from Linda to her son. "Andre, are you okay?" Andre nodded. "I'm fine, Mom. I was just buying stuff for your birthday dinner." "It was supposed to be a surprise." His mother's expression softened. "Oh, honey." She hugged him again, then turned back to the others, her face now serious and professional. "So my son was accused of stealing, despite having done nothing wrong?" Mr. Chen nodded. "Yes, ma'am. And as it happens, we discovered that the person making the accusation was actually shoplifting. Herself." He pointed to the security monitor still showing the paused image of Linda slipping the face cream into her purse. Dr. Brooks studied the screen for a moment, then looked directly at Linda. "I see." Just those 2 words, spoken quietly but with unmistakable gravity, seemed to make Linda shrink further into herself. "We were just discussing how to handle the situation," Diane explained. "Store policy is to contact the police for shoplifting incidents." Dr. Brooks nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. And what about false accusations and racial profiling? What's the store policy on that?" The question hung in the air. Mr. Chen cleared his throat. "We don't tolerate discrimination of any kind at Green Valley Supermarket." "And yet it happened," Dr. Brooks said, her voice still calm but with an edge of steel beneath it. "My son was humiliated in public based on nothing but this woman's prejudice." Linda began to protest. "It wasn't about—" "Please don't," Dr. Brooks cut her off. "Let's not add insult to injury by pretending this wasn't about race. We both know it was." An uncomfortable silence filled the room. Andre watched his mother with a mixture of pride and awe. At the hospital, they called her the General because of her quiet authority and unwavering composure even in emergencies. Now he was seeing that side of her in action. "What would you like to see happen here, Dr. Brooks?" Mr. Chen asked. She considered for a moment. "I believe in teaching moments rather than punishment when possible." She turned to Linda. "Do you have children, ma'am?" Linda, surprised by the question, nodded hesitantly. 2. A boy and a girl. Teenagers. "Then you understand the fierce protectiveness we feel for our children," Dr. Brooks continued. "How we teach them right from wrong, how to be good people, how to navigate a world that isn't always fair." She paused. "I've had to have conversations with my son that you've probably never had to have with yours. About how to behave in stores to avoid suspicion. About keeping his hands visible. About being unfairly judged." Linda looked down, unable to meet Dr. Brooks's steady gaze. "I don't want to see you arrested," Dr. Brooks said, surprising everyone in the room. "What I want is for you to understand the harm that comes from assumptions and prejudice. The damage it does, especially to children." She turned to Mr. Chen. "I'd like this woman to apologize to my son, return what she took, and perhaps make a donation to the youth center downtown, where Andre volunteers reading to younger kids. They're always in need of books and supplies." Mr. Chen nodded, impressed. "That seems more than fair to me." Linda looked up, relief washing over her face. "Yes, of course. I can do that. And," Dr. Brooks added, "I think a public apology would be appropriate given that the accusation was made publicly." Linda's relief faded slightly, but she nodded in agreement. "I understand." Andre watched this exchange with mixed emotions. Part of him wanted Linda to face more serious consequences, but another part appreciated his mother's approach. It wasn't about revenge. It was about growth and learning. They all filed out of the office and back onto the main floor of the supermarket. Some of the earlier onlookers were still there, including the elderly man with the cane and the woman with glasses who had defended Andre. Linda stood awkwardly in front of Andre, her eyes still unable to meet his. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely audible. "A bit louder, please," Dr. Brooks prompted gently but firmly, so everyone can hear as clearly as they heard the accusation. Linda took a deep breath. "I'm sorry," she said more clearly. "I wrongly accused you of stealing when you did nothing wrong. I jumped to conclusions based on prejudice. It was unfair and hurtful, and I apologize." Andre nodded, accepting the apology with more grace than many adults might have shown. "Thank you," he said simply. Linda then reached into her purse and handed the face cream to Mr. Chen before writing a check for the youth center. As she walked away, her shoulders hunched and head down, the elderly man with the cane stepped forward. "You've raised a fine young man," he told Dr. Brooks with a smile, "and handled this situation with remarkable grace." "I'm Harold Thompson, by the way." "Nice to meet you, Mr. Thompson. I'm Olivia Brooks," she replied, shaking his hand. "And thank you for standing up for Andre earlier. It means a lot to know there are people willing to speak up." Mr. Thompson nodded. "Not enough people do, unfortunately. But perhaps this incident will make a few more willing to step forward next time they witness injustice." As they finally made their way to the checkout with Andre's basket of ingredients, the cashier refused to accept their money. "The store would like to cover these items," she explained. "It's the least we can do after what happened." Dr. Brooks tried to protest, but Mr. Chen insisted. "Please allow us to do this small thing, and know that your son is always welcome here." As they walked to the car with their groceries, Andre looked up at his mother. "I'm sorry your surprise was ruined, Mom. I wanted to have dinner ready when you got home." She smiled and put her arm around him. "The surprise might be ruined, but the thought behind it means everything to me. And now we can cook together, which is even better." She paused, her expression growing more serious. "I'm so proud of how you handled yourself today, Andre. You showed real strength and dignity." Andre nodded, thinking about everything that had happened. "I remembered what you always tell me, to stand tall and speak my truth." As they drove home, Andre thought about Linda and wondered if today's events would change her, even a little. He hoped so. And he thought about Mr. Thompson and the others who had spoken up for him, strangers who had chosen to do the right thing. But mostly, he thought about the birthday dinner he and his mom would now cook together, and how sometimes, even when things don't go as planned, they can still turn out okay in the end. News traveled fast in the small town of Riverdale. By the next morning, several people had posted about the incident at Green Valley Supermarket on social media. Someone had recorded parts of the confrontation on their phone, and the video was being shared widely, showing Andre standing tall as Linda accused him. The clips didn't show Linda's later embarrassment or the discovery of her own theft, but they clearly captured her unwarranted accusations and the way some bystanders had stepped up to defend Andre. Andre discovered this when he arrived at school the next day. As he walked down the hallway to his locker, he noticed people glancing his way and whispering. His best friend Raj hurried up to him, phone in hand. "Dude, you're all over town talk," Raj said, referring to the local community app that many parents used. "My mom showed me the video this morning." "That lady was way out of line." Andre groaned, embarrassment washing over him. "Great, just what I need." "Are you kidding?" "You're like a hero!" "Everyone's talking about how you kept your cool while that woman was freaking out. And then there's your mom. She sounds awesome." Before Andre could respond, his homeroom teacher, Mr. Daniels, approached. "Andre, could I have a word with you before class?" Feeling a flutter of anxiety, Andre followed Mr. Daniels to his classroom. To his surprise, his teacher didn't look upset. He looked concerned. "I saw what happened yesterday," Mr. Daniels said gently. "Principal Garcia did too. We wanted to check if you're okay and see if there's anything we can do to support you." Andre blinked in surprise. "I'm fine, really. It wasn't fun, but my mom helped make it right." Mr. Daniels nodded. "Your mother is quite remarkable. Still, experiencing discrimination is never easy, especially for someone your age." He paused. "You know, we've been looking for a topic for this year's community project. What happened to you highlights an important issue that affects many people. Would you be comfortable if we discussed it as a potential focus? Andre thought about it. Part of him wanted to forget the whole thing had happened, to go back to being just another kid at school. But another part remembered how it had felt to be judged unfairly, to be seen as suspicious just because of how he looked. I think that would be good, he said finally. Maybe it could help stop the same thing from happening to someone else. That's very brave of you, Mr. Daniels said with an approving nod. Take some time to think about it. We can talk more later. Throughout the day, more students and even a few teachers mentioned the incident to Andre. Most were supportive, though a few seemed more interested in the gossip than in how he felt about it. By lunchtime, Andre was tired of being the center of attention. He sat with Raj and their other friends at their usual table, hoping for some normal conversation. Instead, everyone wanted to hear every detail about what had happened. Did she really try to get you arrested? Asked Lily, her eyes wide behind her glasses. Was there really a security video of her stealing stuff? Tyler wanted to know. Andre sighed. Look, can we talk about something else? Anything else? How about those new science fair projects? His friends exchanged glances but respected his wishes. The conversation shifted to safer topics and Andre felt himself relaxing a little. Then he noticed a group of 8th graders walking past their table, including Blake Thompson, the principal's son who had a reputation for picking on younger kids. Hey, it's the supermarket kid, Blake called out. Better watch my wallet. His friends laughed and Andre felt his cheeks burning. Raj stood up quickly. Shut up, Blake, you don't know what you're talking about. Relax, I'm just joking, Blake said with a smirk. Not my fault if some people can't take a joke. Andre stood up too. It's not a joke if it hurts people. That's called being mean. Blake rolled his eyes. Whatever. Everyone's so sensitive these days. Just then, the lunchroom monitor, Mrs. Rivera, walked over. Is there a problem here, boys? No problem, Blake said with an innocent smile. Just chatting with the local celebrity. Mrs. Rivera looked skeptical but moved on after warning everyone to keep the noise down. Blake and his friends walked away, but not before Blake whispered, This isn't over, supermarket kid. After school, Andre headed to the youth center downtown where he volunteered twice a week. The center was a bright, welcoming space where kids from all over town could get help with homework, play games, or join various activities. Andre usually helped younger children with reading, something he genuinely enjoyed. Today, however, he was greeted by Ms. Patel, the center's director, with unusual excitement. Andre. Just the person I wanted to see. You won't believe what happened this morning. What? Andre asked, setting down his backpack. A woman came in, well-dressed designer purse, and made a donation. A very generous donation. She specifically mentioned your name. Andre's stomach dropped. Was her name Linda by any chance? Ms. Patel looked surprised. Yes, how did you know? Linda Grayson. She donated $5,000 to our reading program and said it was because of you. She studied Andre's face. You don't look happy about this. Is something wrong? Andre hesitated, unsure how to explain. It's complicated. Did she say anything else? Just that she had learned an important lesson and wanted to make amends. She seemed, I don't know, different from our usual donors, more humble somehow. Ms. Patel tilted her head. Andre, what happened between you and this woman? Reluctantly, Andre explained the supermarket incident. Ms. Patel's expression changed from curiosity to concern to outrage as he told the story. Oh, Andre, I'm so sorry that happened to you. She shook her head. Though I have to say, your mother handled it brilliantly. Yeah, Mom's pretty amazing that way, Andre agreed. Ms. Patel thought for a moment. You know, $5,000 is far more than the small donation your mother suggested. And Linda asked specifically about our needs. She's arranging for new bookshelves, beanbags, and hundreds of new books. She placed a hand on Andre's shoulder. Sometimes people surprise us. Maybe this experience really did change her. Andre wasn't sure what to think. Could someone like Linda truly change overnight? Or was this just her way of easing her guilt and making herself look good? As if reading his thoughts, Ms. Patel added, Real change takes time. But recognizing you've done something wrong and trying to make it right, that's a start. Andre nodded slowly. I guess so. Now, Ms. Patel said, changing the subject, we have 6 eager 7-year-olds waiting for their reading buddy. Think you're up for it? Andre smiled, grateful for the return to normalcy. Definitely. Working with the younger kids always lifted Andre's spirits. Their enthusiasm for stories and their pride when they sounded out a difficult word made all his troubles fade away for a while. Today he was reading with a shy girl named Zoe, who was just starting to gain confidence in her reading skills. "You're doing great, Zoe," he encouraged as she carefully worked through a page of her book. "That was a tricky word, but you figured it out." Zoe beamed at the praise. "My mom says I'm getting better every day." "Your mom is right," Andre agreed. When it was time to leave, Andre was surprised to see not his mother waiting for him, but Mr. Thompson, the elderly man from the supermarket who had defended him. "Mr. Thompson? What are you doing here?" The old man smiled, leaning on his cane. "Your mother called me. She got pulled into an emergency surgery and asked if I could give you a ride home. I hope that's okay." Andre was surprised his mother had contacted Mr. Thompson, but then remembered they had exchanged information at the supermarket. "That's fine. Thank you." As they walked to Mr. Thompson's car, the old man asked, "How are you holding up after yesterday's excitement?" Andre shrugged. "It's weird. Everyone at school was talking about it. And the woman Linda, she donated a bunch of money to the youth center." "Ah," Mr. Thompson nodded, trying to ease her conscience, I imagine. "Not a bad outcome, though the money doesn't erase what happened." "That's what I was thinking," Andre admitted. "But Ms. Patel, she runs the center. She said it might mean Linda's really trying to change." Mr. Thompson considered this as he carefully lowered himself into the driver's seat. "People can change, Andre. Some never do, but some take a hard look at themselves after an experience like yesterday and decide to be better. Only time will tell which kind Linda is." As they drove through town, Mr. Thompson shared stories from his own life, including his experiences during the civil rights movement. Andre listened, fascinated by history that suddenly felt very personal and relevant. "The world has changed a lot since I was your age," Mr. Thompson said. "Not always as much as we'd like, as yesterday proves. But moments like that, they're opportunities for growth, not just for the person who did wrong, but for everyone who witnessed it." Andre thought about that as they pulled up to his house. His mother wasn't home yet, but the porch light was on, welcoming him. "Thanks for the ride, Mr. Thompson, and for the stories." The old man smiled. "Anytime, young man. You know, I have a feeling this isn't the end of your story. Not by a long shot." As Andre watched Mr. Thompson drive away, he wondered what the old man meant. He had no idea that tomorrow would bring yet another surprise, one that would test his newfound courage in ways he couldn't imagine. The next morning, Andre woke up to the smell of pancakes. He found his mother in the kitchen, already dressed for work but cooking breakfast despite the early hour. "Morning, Mom," he said, sliding onto a stool at the counter. "You don't usually have time to make pancakes on workdays." Dr. Brooks smiled and flipped a perfectly golden pancake onto a plate. "I thought we both deserved a special breakfast today. Besides, I wanted to talk to you before school." Andre felt a flutter of concern. "Is everything okay?" "More than okay." His mother placed the plate in front of him. "I got a call from Channel 8 News last night. They want to interview us about what happened at the supermarket." Andre's fork paused halfway to his mouth. Why? "That video from the store has gone viral. Not just locally, it's all over the internet. People are calling it an example of racial profiling caught on camera. The news station thinks it could be an opportunity to start a community conversation about prejudice and standing up against it." Andre put down his fork, his appetite suddenly gone. "I don't know, Mom. Everyone at school is already talking about it. Blake Thompson was making jokes about watching his wallet around me. I don't want even more attention." Dr. Brooks nodded, understanding in her eyes. "I told them I'd need to talk to you first. This is your story too, and you get a say in how it's told." She sat down beside him. "But before you decide, I want you to know something. Principal Garcia called me yesterday. Apparently, several parents have contacted the school saying the video made them realize they need to have better conversations with their kids about prejudice." Andre looked up, surprised. "Really?" "Yes, and Mr. Chen from the supermarket called too. He said their company is reviewing their policies on customer accusations and staff training." She placed her hand on Andre's. "What happened to you was wrong and unfair, but sometimes when we share our stories, they can help change things for the better." Andre thought about this as he slowly ate his pancakes. He remembered how Mr. Thompson had told him about speaking up during the civil rights movement, and how Ms. Patel had suggested that even Linda might be changing. Maybe his story could make a difference. What would I have to do? For the interview? He asked finally. Just tell the truth about what happened, how you felt, and what you think people should learn from it, and I'll be right there with you. Andre took a deep breath. Okay, I'll do it. His mother smiled proudly. That's my brave boy. School that day was a strange experience. News of the upcoming TV interview had somehow already spread, and Andre found himself the center of attention again. Some kids asked for selfies with him, while others whispered as he passed. He tried to focus on his classes, but it wasn't easy. At lunch, Blake Thompson approached his table again, this time without his usual group of friends. Hey, Andre, Blake said, uncharacteristically using his actual name instead of supermarket kid. Can I talk to you for a minute, alone? Andre's friends looked concerned, but he nodded and followed Blake to a quieter corner of the cafeteria, staying alert in case this was some kind of prank. Blake stared at the floor, shuffling his feet. So my dad saw that video. He was pretty mad. Andre tensed. At me? No, Blake said quickly. At me. He heard about what I said to you yesterday. Someone told a teacher who told him. He looked up finally, his expression a mix of embarrassment and resentment. He made me watch the whole video with him. Then he asked how I'd feel if someone treated me that way just because of how I look. Andre waited, unsure where this was going. Anyway, Blake continued awkwardly, I'm supposed to say I'm sorry for what I said, and that it wasn't cool. It wasn't the most heartfelt apology, but Andre could tell it wasn't easy for Blake to admit he was wrong. It's okay, he said. Thanks for telling me. Blake nodded, clearly relieved to have completed his assigned task. So I heard you're going to be on TV? Yeah. My mom thinks it might help people understand why what happened was wrong. That's cool, I guess. Blake hesitated. My dad says your mom's like the best doctor at the hospital. He had surgery last year and she was in charge. Andre smiled. Yeah, she's pretty amazing. An awkward silence followed before Blake said, Well, see you around, and walked away. It wasn't exactly the beginning of a friendship, but it felt like another small change, another ripple from the stone that had been thrown into the pond of their community. After school, Andre and his mother went to the local TV station for the interview. He was nervous, but the reporter, a kind woman named Patricia Jackson, made him feel at ease. We'll just have a conversation, she explained. Nothing tricky, just your experience in your own words. The interview went better than Andre had expected. His mother spoke eloquently about the impact of prejudice on young people, while Andre simply told the truth about what happened and how it made him feel. What would you want people to learn from your experience? Patricia asked him. Andre thought carefully before answering. I guess I'd want people to know that judging someone based on how they look is wrong, and that standing up for what's right isn't always easy, but it's important. He paused. Also, that sometimes people can surprise you, both in good ways and bad. After the interview, as they were leaving the station, Andre was surprised to see Linda Grayson waiting in the lobby. She looked very different from the angry woman at the supermarket, smaller somehow and nervous. Dr. Brooks, Andre, she said quietly. May I speak with you for a moment? Dr. Brooks looked at Andre, letting him decide. He nodded. I saw on social media that you'd be here today, Linda explained. I wanted to apologize again, face to face. What I did was inexcusable. You already apologized at the store, Andre said, confused by her appearance. Yes, but that was when I was caught and embarrassed. I've had time to really think about it since then. Linda's voice trembled slightly. The truth is, I've never had to face my own prejudices before. It was easier to make assumptions than to question them. Dr. Brooks studied her. What changed? Everything, Linda sighed. My husband saw the video. My children saw it. My friends saw it. Suddenly everyone knew this side of me that I'd managed to hide. Maybe even from myself. She looked directly at Andre. But mostly, it was watching you, how dignified you were, how you didn't lash out or try to hurt me back. You showed more maturity than I did. Andre wasn't sure what to say. Part of him was still angry at this woman, but another part recognized genuine remorse when he saw it. The donation to the youth center, Linda continued. It wasn't just to ease my conscience, though that was part of it. It was because I realized those kids deserve better than a world where they're judged unfairly, where people like me make snap judgments that can hurt them. Dr. Brooks nodded. Recognition is the first step toward change. I know I can't undo what I did, Linda said, but I'm trying to learn from it. I've joined a community discussion group on race relations. I'm reading books I should have read years ago. I'm having uncomfortable conversations with my own children. She took a deep breath. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that what happened, it changed me. Andre looked at his mother, then back at Linda. I believe you, he said simply. The three of them talked for a few more minutes before parting ways. As Andre and his mother drove home, he felt a strange mix of emotions, relief, pride, and a cautious hope. Do you think she really changed? He asked his mother. Dr. Brooks considered the question. I think she's trying. Real change is hard work, and it doesn't happen overnight. But recognizing your mistakes and facing them honestly, that's where it begins. The interview aired the following evening. Andre watched it with his mother, feeling odd seeing himself on television. The response was immediate. Phone calls, text messages, social media comments, all overwhelmingly supportive. Mr. Thompson called to say he was proud of Andre. Ms. Patel from the youth center reported that they'd received several new volunteer applications and donations. Principal Garcia announced that the school would be implementing a new curriculum unit on recognizing and addressing bias. A week later, Andre found himself standing in front of his classmates, helping Mr. Daniels introduce the community project they'd decided on, a series of facilitated conversations between students, parents, and community members about their experiences with prejudice and how to combat it. It's not always easy to tell your story, Andre said to the class. But sometimes when one person speaks up, it helps others find their voice too. As he looked out at his classmates, Andre saw genuine interest on most faces. Even Blake Thompson was paying attention instead of texting under his desk. Walking home that afternoon, Andre passed Green Valley Supermarket and noticed a new sign in the window. Everyone welcome here. We stand against prejudice. He smiled and continued walking, thinking about everything that had happened since that day when he'd just wanted to buy ingredients for his mom's birthday dinner. One small incident had created ripples that were still spreading through the community. At the corner, he ran into Mr. Thompson, who fell into step beside him. How are you doing, young man? The elderly gentleman asked. Good, Andre replied and realized he meant it. Really good, actually. I'm not surprised, Mr. Thompson said with a knowing smile. You know, I've lived a long time, seen a lot of change, some fast, some slow. But the most important changes often start with one person standing in their truth. He patted Andre's shoulder. You stood in yours and look what happened. Andre nodded, understanding now what Mr. Thompson had meant when he'd said this wasn't the end of the story. Maybe it was just the beginning.